and being in creation, talking about creation. Now you've elaborated what it's not being creation, but elaborate what you mean by it and why that's important to ground this entire discussion in the doctrine of creation.
Yeah, that's good. So fundamental to kind of Christianity and our understanding of God and the world is we make this what's called the creator-creature distinction. And so you have God, who's creator, and then I'm going to give your audience a very technical definition of creation, but I think is incredibly helpful. And this is the best I've come up with. Creation is everything that's not God. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's funny because that simple definition really helps. When you're like, no. Creation is not just like dirt. It's everything that's not God. And we're like, well, what about angels or planets we haven't discovered? Everything that's not God, every animated, inanimate, everything that's not God is creation. And so you have this creator-creature distinction. And then humans are this kind of centerpiece of the biblical narrative of the goodness of this creation. So one of the other things to emphasize is creation is good. Genesis is unclear about a lot of things, but if you actually read the text, what it is abundantly clear about is God made it good. But then we get confused because we think goodness, we misunderstand what goodness or perfection could be. So for example, I've already used this word finitude. It's a fancy word. It's not a word we use a lot today, but technically finitude just means limits in space, time, knowledge, and power, etc. Finitude doesn't even necessarily have to mean death. It just means limits in these things, which is another way of saying what the Christian tradition means by the word creature. We're creatures. We're just dependent. Now, here's the big aha. If everything I've said is true so far, then that means being a creature before there's sin or a fall, it was actually a good thing to be a creature, which means by our very nature, we were made to be dependent on God, dependent on our neighbors, dependent on the earth. That's not part of the fall. The fall is what distorts all those dependencies, but not the fact that we are. And yet, as you know, in much of the Western world, when we say the word dependent or dependence, I mean, that's never, if I'm talking to someone, I say, yeah, Travis, he's dependent on a lot of people. Like, is that ever used as a compliment?
Is that a good thing? It's like, oh no.
Yeah, but actually biblically, the idea that you would not be dependent on others is a sign of a problem. And that just shows how inverted we've become, how distorted we've become.